Alrighty, some huge AI news just came out in the past few days, so here I'm going to go over all the highlights so you can stay up to date with what's going on in the world of AI. First, OpenAI just released another SORA video. In this example, they demonstrate how SORA can replace any object in a video with something else. So in the top left corner, you can see this is the original video. It's starting with this video of a 30-year-old man in a gray suit. And then in the top right, you can see SORA is able to turn this man into a woman with just the prompt woman. And then in the bottom left, you can also turn it into a 60-year-old with a white beard. And then finally, in the bottom right corner, you can turn this man into a quote-unquote metal industrial robot. Now, as I play through the scenes, you can see there are some discrepancies in the background as well, so it's not just swapping out the character while maintaining the background. So for example, you can see here's the original video. You can see this wall has some graffiti, this wall is different, and then this wooden wall has no graffiti. Here you can see there's a huge garbage bin, whereas all these other videos do not have this. Same with here, you can see the graffiti is different from each of these generations. You can see here as well, the background is just noticeably different in each of these generations. So it's not directly just swapping out the character and leaving everything else intact, but nevertheless, this is a cool feature that they are showcasing with SORA. Alright, next up, this is crazy. Alphafold 3 is just released. And this doesn't only predict the structure of proteins, which is what Alphafold 2 does, but it can predict the structure and interactions of all of life's molecules. Now let's first rewind to Alphafold 2. The point of Alphafold is to predict how protein molecules combine with one another to form these complex 3D structures. And these protein complexes are what drives everything in life. This is how life functions. So before Alphafold, this purple dot is the number of protein structures that we humans were able to predict or get correct. It was around 190,000 structures that we could accurately guess the 3D structure of. Now, once Alphafold and Alphafold 2 came out, it started predicting close to 1 million structures, and then Alphafold 2 predicted over 200 million of these proteins, including all of the proteins expressed in the human genome. So here it says, on the 28th of July, 2022, we expanded this database from nearly 1 million structures to over 200 million structures, including nearly all cataloged proteins known to science. So this in itself is already a huge breakthrough. We now have knowledge on basically the 3D structures of all proteins known to science. So that was Alphafold 2. Now, why Alphafold 3 is an even bigger breakthrough is that not only does it predict the structure of proteins, but it can predict the 3D structures of other molecules in life, such as DNA, RNA, ligands, etc., and how they each interact with each other. And this thing is really damn accurate. So here is the 7PNM. This includes a glycoprotein from the coronavirus, as well as an antibody. So this is not just a protein, but a complex of proteins and other molecular components. This complex that you see here is basically a glycoprotein of the coronavirus, which is attached to a human antibody called the 46C12. And you can see the gray parts are the ground truth. This is basically what it looks like in real life. This is its 3D structure in real life. And then the colored portions are what Alphafold is able to predict. So basically, you just feed Alphafold with a list of ingredients of life's molecules, and it would spit out this 3D structure, which is this colored part here. And if you compare it to the structure in real life, you can see it's really, really accurate. Here it says, for the interactions of proteins with other molecule types, we see at least a 50% improvement compared with existing prediction methods. For some important categories of interaction, we have doubled prediction accuracy. And what's great is the majority of Alphafold 3's capabilities can be now accessed for free using the newly launched Alphafold server. So here's a showcase of the Alphafold server, which anyone can access for free. So you can see with Alphafold 3, it takes us beyond just proteins. Now we can predict the structures of other biomolecules and how they would interact and fit with one another. And with this knowledge, we can unlock breakthroughs in drug discovery, finding cures for cancer, developing biofuels and biomaterials, creating better crops with higher yield and more nutrition, and more. So in a nutshell, the TLDR of Alphafold 3 is that right now we have this free-to-access tool where you can plug in a list of ingredients of the building blocks of life, and it can output a predicted 3D structure of all those components and how they would interact with one another. This is basically a tool that can predict how life's molecules work, and this can vastly improve our understanding of, well, life. In other breaking news, IBM has open-sourced its family of AI models called Granite. These AI models are designed for coding. So it says here, these models have been trained with code written in 116 programming languages. The Granite code models is a family of models. So similar to how Llama 3 is also a family of models with different parameters, this Granite family consists of models ranging from 3 to 34 billion parameters. And 3 billion is quite tiny. You can run this on a mid-level GPU just fine. And these models can perform a wide range of tasks, including generating, explaining, correcting, and editing code. Now, this is really the takeaway chart here. This compares IBM's Granite family, which is the blue bar here, with other LLMs. This includes Google's Gemma and Code Gemma, and then Meta's Code Llama, and their recent Llama 3, and also the open source Mistral. Thanks to the sponsor of this video, UPix. If you're feeling overwhelmed with Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, you don't want to worry about prompting or learning all these different settings, well, UPix has made it dead easy for you to generate high-quality, realistic images of yourself or anyone else in just one click. It works on desktop as well as on your phone. You don't need to install any apps or anything, it just works straight from your internet browser. Simply select a template, and then upload your photo, and then click Create. It's as easy as that. And look how realistic the results are. There's many templates for you to choose from and more to come, so check it out at upix.app. And the benchmark that is used here is human eval. This is a benchmark that is commonly used to evaluate the performance of LLMs for code generation. So the top row here is comparing the performance of IBM's Granite 8 billion parameter base model, whereas the bottom row is comparing the instruct model. So base model is just its general model designed to understand and edit code. And then the instruct model is more designed to follow instructions written in plain English. So it's particularly useful for tasks where the model needs to follow specific instructions to generate code. So looking at the first row first, this is Granite 8B base. You can see it outperforms all of these other LLMs in terms of generating code, explaining code, and fixing code. And then if you look at the instruct model, it outperforms all of them in generating code and explaining code, but not in fixing code. So in terms of fixing code, it seems like Google's Code Gemma 7B instruct works better. But nevertheless, this is huge, and I love how IBM is open sourcing this. This just adds another open source competitor to the LLM market. If you go to LMSys, which is a Hugging Face space where users can blind test different models. So for example, here you don't know which model is model A, which model is model B. You just enter in your prompt, and then based on its output, the user will select a winner. So this is a blind test, but based on all these results, you can see that it turns out GPT-4 is number 1. And then all of these are tied for number 2. So we have GPT-4, 1106 preview. I should mention number 1 is GPT-4 Turbo. And then we also have Claude 3 Opus, which is Anthropic's biggest model. We have Gemini 1.5 Pro, which is Google's biggest model. We have GPT-4. These are all tied for second place, but you can see in third place is Llama 3. This is the best open source model out there right now, which means you can download it and run it locally on your computer without any internet. Note that this is the 70 billion model, so if we scroll down a bit, you can see Llama 3's 8B model is over here at 13th place. Note that the rest of these are closed source. but it seems that IBM's Granite model is able to beat Llama 3's 8B instruct model. So this adds another open source contender to this scoreboard. This is really exciting. And in this chart, they only compared the 8B model, but like they said, they also have up to a 34 billion parameter model. So I'm excited to see how that performs compared to all these other LLMs. And if you've been following the progress of LLMs so far, why Llama 3 is so good, why they were able to train it to outperform some of the leading closed source LLMs out there in such a short amount of time, is because they focused on the quality of training data, right? Same with Microsoft's recent Phi 3, which is a small language model. The reason why it works so well, given the small parameter size, is because they trained it on high quality data. And so, the model architecture or the parameter count might not be as important as just the quality of your data set that was used to train the model. And so here it says that IBM's Granite models were trained on their CodeNet dataset. This is a massive high-quality dataset with 5 million lines of code in over 50 programming languages, as well as code snippets, code problems, and descriptions. So anyways, this is a really exciting announcement. I'll link to this article in the description below so you can read more. Now, just yesterday, I released a video talking about this paper, Sequence Modeling and Design from Molecular to Genome Scale with Evo. TLDR of this is they created this AI model, which is able to generate proteins and RNA and DNA, which are like the three facets of molecular biology. So just to recap from this, DNA is the code of life. This is the code that programs you and me and everything else in life. And then this code can be transcribed into RNA, which is just basically half of a DNA. And then this RNA codes proteins. And then proteins basically power everything in life, from your digestion, your metabolism, how you function, how you think, how you move. These are all done by proteins. Now, in this paper, Evo, they've basically designed an AI model that not only can design proteins, but also the RNA and the DNA. So it can design all of life, basically. So for example, here is a protein RNA complex where the purple strand is the RNA. It's attached to this protein. This is what it looks like in real life. And you can see Evo has generated 3 different variations of these complexes that are also proven to work just as well as the one in real life. And the craziest thing about Evo is that it can generate an entire genome of an organism. So here it says, Evo generates genome scale sequences with dense coding architecture. And currently this is only for bacteria, but basically it can generate the entire DNA sequence of a made-up bacteria. It's kind of like it can create a new bacteria species from scratch. Now, funny thing is, a few days after this paper came out, this article was just published. The USA is cracking down on synthetic DNA. Synthetic DNA could be used to spark a pandemic, which is a valid statement. I mean, if we now have an AI that can design any bacteria we want, how close are we from being able to design a disease that can wipe out an entire human population? So with such a powerful technology, it seems right to regulate it to some degree. So here it says the White House has issued new rules aimed at companies that manufacture synthetic DNA. And this is, of course, to prevent accidentally or intentionally sparking the next pandemic. Here it says artificially generated DNA allows researchers to do all sorts of things, develop diagnostic tests, make beneficial enzymes to, for example, eat up plastic, or engineer antibodies and treat diseases. However, of course, it can also generate a pandemic. It can also generate a very lethal disease to kill humans. Here it says, it's conceivable that a bad actor could make a dangerous virus from scratch by ordering its genetic building blocks and assembling them into a whole pathogen. And now with Alphafold 3, where you can simply plug in your list of ingredients and it can output the 3D model, and then with Evo, where it can generate an entire genome of DNA, and you can see what types of proteins it can be transcribed and translated from this DNA, it's becoming a lot easier for anyone to potentially build a dangerous virus. And then so for example, in 2017, Canadian researchers revealed that they had reconstructed this horsepox virus for only $100,000. This was a deadly disease that was eradicated in 1980. And so the new rules from the White House aim to prevent a similar scenario. So it asks for DNA manufacturers to screen purchase orders and flag these suspicious orders and assess customer legitimacy. So if some lab is ordering tons and tons of these nucleotide or these genetic building blocks, first of all, the DNA manufacturer would have to flag this and clarify why the lab is ordering so many of these building blocks. So those are all the highlights in the world of AI in the past few days. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content to stay up to date with the latest AI news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.